One of the most common questions I get, no matter what game it is, Bobby, what build do I go in this race or that race? Or what do you recommend for a Saiyan? What do you recommend for a Frieza? Well, in this video, I'm going to be tackling that for every single race. Not only every single race, but every single sub-race that includes all the alien sub-races. And I'm also going to be explaining to you guys what all the stats do. So first off, in the character menu here, you can pick between many different races, and as you see, aliens have multiple sub-races. So I'm going to be going over each and every one of them in a second. However, I'm first going to take us back to the actual game and explain stats to you guys. Alright, so here I am in the actual game. Now if I open the stats menu, as you can see, we have health, ki damage, melee damage, ki resistance, melee resistance, and speed. So first, I'm going to go over each one and what they do and if they're good or not or whatever. So I think the only stat that's actually very bad right now is health max. I haven't tested resistances too much, but forums give you resistance, so it's not that big of a deal. But health max, I've tested it, it's buns. It barely gives you anything. So I recommend right now you stay away from health max. However, health max should scale the higher level that you are. I don't know for sure yet, but some testing has implied that it will. So just be on the lookout for that. Maybe not at this like Earth level, but maybe when we get to Namek Space Future, it'll be more worth it to upgrade health. I will make more guides in the future when metas change, so just be on the lookout for that. Make sure you subscribe so that way you are notified when I upload those videos. Keymax is always great. It always will be great, and it basically just lets you use more moves and control your forms better. So yeah, Keymax is just a phenomenal stat. You're always going to want to do Keymax on basically every build, but I'll get into that more specifically later. Key damage is affecting your damage on your Key Blasts as well as key moves like Masenko and any other key moves in the key attacks option. So that is key damage. Melee damage is the same basically, but just for melee moves, so like Meteor Crash, Launcher, Flip Kick, any moves like that, right? Any move in the melee category. And then key resistance and melee resistance just improves your ability to tank hits from those types of damage specifically. So if you have key resistance, you can take more hits from key resistance. Same thing with melee. And speed is the most underrated stat in the game right now. I have less speed because I have the weighted clothing capsule on, but if I unequip it, as you can see, my speed goes up quite a little bit. And I did actually put a point into it already. I'm thinking of doing a little bit more as well, but early on in the game, speed is actually very, very important. And for a lot of races, I recommend you, especially if you want to be a boxing playstyle. Now, I'll get into playstyles a little bit right after I explain the stats, but speed is just a very good stat. It increases your movement speed, it increases your M1 speed, as you can see there. If I'm punching very slow, if I go Super Saiyan 2, much faster. And as you can see, I got another punch. If I go base, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I go to Super Saiyan 2, as you can see, I have over 100 speed, which means... Okay, nice lag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I get 5. So every 100 you get an extra M1 to your M1 combo. And that is just extremely, extremely good, because that is how you are able to combo NPCs way more effectively. NPCs can often block out of your hits or vanish out of them or something if your M1s are way too slow for them and their speed is much higher than yours. So I definitely recommend speed. Helps so much in the early levels of the game. Not that you're going to get 100 speed, but just in general for like raids. And when I mean early levels, I don't mean just like level 1, level 20, because obviously you're not getting that much speed at that level. But when you're close to level 116, someone with a speed build versus someone with not a speed build, you will notice the difference. And it could help you in a lot of situations, and it could help you dominate raids better, and speed is just overall a great stat. But I want to warn you against upgrading speed, because I'm not 100% sure, I'm like 90% sure that speed will cap at around 600 to prevent the problems from the original game carrying over to this game. So 600 speed is not going to be hard to get once we get to our final forms, basically. Like once we get to Super Saiyan Blue and forms of that level for the other races, speed should be very easy to have that 600 mark at. So I recommend at the very lowest levels, speed is a Earth only thing right now, I believe. This will only really matter for Earth. As we get high level forms, our speed will go up. And yeah, a speed build is going to have maybe an extra M1 and quite a bit faster M1 speed compared to other people at, you know, Namek, space, so on and so forth. So it just depends if you think that's worth it or not. I basically think health will age better than speed, funnily enough, even though speed is the best stat right now and health is the worst stat. That's what I think. I don't know for sure, but that's the ongoing theory. So let's move on to playstyles. So I think that there's just multiple different kinds of playstyles in this game that you can just try to figure out and learn for yourself. Now the first playstyle I want to talk about is this. Playstyles basically will affect your stats. So that's why I'm talking about playstyles first. With playstyles, there's basically 4 I can come up with mainly. There's if you want to spam key moves. Now if you want to spam key moves, this basically means you're going to equip a bunch of key moves like Energy Blast Volley, Masenko, something like Destructo Disc maybe, something like Gallic Gun, which is a great move. And let's say this is your strat against an NPC. It's just this. Gallic Gun into Masenko, into Destructo Disc, whatever your combo is. That's your strategy. That's going to take up key. I have a key capsule regenerating for myself right now, so that's why it's going up. But if that's your style, then you're going to want to go with key damage and key max, because key max will allow you to spam more without having to charge up, and charging up is the weakness of this playstyle. And key damage, of course, is just going to increase your key damage. Now, if you want to box with key moves, you're going to be wanting to use other moves. Masenko actually a great move for boxing with key moves. One-handed Kamehameha is also good for this. Instant Severance is a good move for this. Heat Dome Attack is a good move for this. And so is Senko Ki Blast because it can actually combo extend. I do believe Death Beam is good for this. And surprisingly, moves like Kamehameha, very good for this because of how fast they are. As you can see, that is just instant, almost. And one-handed Kamehameha, similar idea, very powerful move. Now the problem with one-handed Kamehameha is you can't aim it like upwards, it only goes forward, but that's why it's good for key boxing, basically. And the reason key boxing is viable is because if I were to go to like a... These guys are psychopaths, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna go to like an easier NPC. But if I were to go to an easier NPC, you guys will see when I gain... or when I do M1s, I gain key back very quickly. So you can do M1s and just destroy people and get your key back while you're doing it. So, come here. I thought he was going to keep blocking. But basically, you can gain your key back while comboing people, and there are plenty of moves in the game to get, that you can combo with key moves. Senko Ki Blast is one of them. It kind of, as you can see, it brings them up with me. That's because it's a combo extender. Now the tanks fall because they can't fly, but against enemies that could fly, it's a decent combo extender, and it does key damage, of course, so that's why it's good for key moves. So boxing with key in this game is actually very viable. I know a guy who does it with a max level human. If you saw my human showcase, that was basically his build, was a boxing key build, and his build is great. So, his stats were a little over the place, but his build was great. Like the idea and the strategy behind it. So next, I want to talk about spamming melee moves. So spamming melee moves could be moves like Dive Kick, Rush, even spamming Meteor Crash, stuff like that. Just spamming moves that have lock-on probably. Spamming moves that just are going to be more efficient for you and help you out. Moves that you don't have to really be good at comboing for, if that makes sense. So spamming moves like Super Rush, Final Blow, Dive Kick, Flip Kick, Rush, stuff like that. That is kind of the spamming melee build, which I think it's viable. But I out of all of these, I think it's the least viable, because boxing in this game is encouraged, and boxing is just basic. When I say boxing, I just mean M1s. So like being able to dash around at M1 people, you know, stuff like that. Like that's kind of the boxing idea, because you're gaining key back while you're doing it, right? So when you're a boxer, you have to worry less about key max because you're gaining your key max back just by fighting naturally, right? So if you want to box with melee moves like Launcher are great for that because I can launch her. And now he's going to fall out of it because he can't fly. But combo extending basically is the idea. A move like Vital Strike can combo extend even though it's not that good at it. But moves like Launcher, Double Launcher, Spirit Breaking Cannon, these are moves that are great at combo extending. So those are, and Strong Kick is one as well, if you guard break someone with it. Strong Kick is good if you guard break someone with it. Now Majins and Namekians have a great combo extender, such as the Gum Gum Pistol. That is the great combo extender for Majins and Namekians, which is why later on in the video I will show you guys why melee damage is so good with them. Now speaking of just races in general, let's go ahead and get into that part of the video. So here I am. I'm going to start with the Saiyan race because I'm assuming most of you are Saiyans. So with Saiyans, you can kind of do any build you want to. What a Scots looking Saiyan. Great. Great news. So with Saiyan, you can do kind of any build you want to. I recommend you have some key max though, just to be able to sustain their higher level forms. Now when I say you can do any build you want to, those 4 playstyles I just mentioned are kind of what I mean by builds for the most part. There are some sort of like sub playstyles and it's mostly for, you guessed it, the races with the sub race. So we'll get into that at the end of the video. But with Saiyans, you can do key damage, you can do melee damage, you can be a boxer, you can be a spammer. Do whatever you want to do with Saiyan. Just have fun. I promise you. So next, we're going to talk about Android. Android, you can do any build with Android. They do have a really low key max, but in turn, they auto-regenerate key very quickly. So personally, I think key is probably better with them, because you're just going to want to be spamming high damage moves, and key damage moves do so much damage in this game. So Android might be the play with key, but again, you can get away with melee. Absolutely. I think they're both equally viable. It just depends on your playstyle. Namekian. You can do any build with Namekian, but because of Gum Gum Pistol, like I mentioned, I think Namekian has a slight melee lean right now, because it's such a good combo extender. Now, you can have a good combo extender with key moves too, but I think you're going to get more damage out of it if you go melee for Namekian. Majin is very similar. So Majin is the same as Namekian. Basically, they get Gum Gum Pistol. So I prefer melee with them. But you can go key. And also, the Absorb move does help you set up those ultra powerful key moves, such as a Special Beam Cannon, a Destructo Disc, a Gallic Gun, any other beam. You can land it with Absorption, and it is worth it. So key is very viable with Majin, but me personally, I went melee, but key is also viable. Again, it is straight up whatever build you want to go with, right? That is the idea. Frieza's, this is the only race I will recommend you bump everything into one stat, and that's key damage. Now you can do key max because their forms are quite good with key control and give such a high amount of key max. You can use that as a reason to actually increase key max as well. But I think that the forms give you so much that you don't really need key max, so you can bump those into damage. But if you do want to do key max, I think you can go with some like, 20 something key max, right? Jiren race is fine with any build that you want to go to, but I'd lean melee with them since they need to get hit to get more stats, and also melee might make you save a little bit more key for their other passive, which when they lose all their HP, their key becomes their HP. And that's at their higher level forms, I believe, so like 100, 150 forms. I honestly recommending melee with key max and be a boxer. So you can do a little bit of key max. So this is the only race where like you kind of want to upgrade 3 stats with it. You could sacrifice your melee stat to go with key max and speed. You could sacrifice speed to be a little bit less of a boxer, but with Jiren's, I recommend you be a boxer since you need to lose HP with them, and spamming moves might result in you losing less HP possibly. With being a boxer, you want to be regaining your key. Or with boxer, you are regaining your key. With Jiren, you want to regain your key. So I recommend melee damage, key max, and speed for Jiren's. As for all the other races, by the way, you can do speed if you are a melee boxer. That's kind of the whole point. If you want to be a boxer, just do speed, right? Speed and melee damage. Or you can do, speed and key moves if you want to be a key boxer, right? But with all of those builds, I do recommend having some key max as well. It just kind of depends, right? When I say some key max, I mean like 20, 30 key max. When I say some speed, honestly calculate it so that way you look at how much stats your race gets. So Saiyans get 1 stat every 3 levels, androids get a stat every level, and every other race is a stat every 2 levels into everything, basically. So you can kind of calculate if you know your form's boost, at what level, at what form you use. You can calculate how much speed you're going to have, especially with how many points you put in. So make sure you calculate it to have enough speed to get that like 100 mark or 200 mark to make sure that you get that extra M1, especially if you're a boxer, right? So moving on, I actually didn't even show Jiren when I talked about Jiren, my bad. Alien, or no, we're going to skip Alien. We're going to go to Human. So Human is extremely versatile. I think being a boxer benefits them the most because of Kaioken. So you can choose to use key moves or melee moves with that. But honestly, they also might not need that much speed due to their great stats in Kaioken. Human is probably best to go with straight damage and just speed blitz your opponent with Kaioken, honestly. And they also have a great form in Mystic, so that's one idea too. So Human, you can just kind of go damage. I would recommend damage. Now let's talk about the alien subraces. So starting with Beerus, they have high key damage and return for low key resistance. So in my opinion, you can be a boxing key user or a spamming key user with Alien, or with Beerus, sorry. But just make sure you go key damage. With, oh come on, with Burter, Burter's race is they get more speed for less melee damage, which isn't a great combo since speed and melee kind of go together. Speed doesn't really help you with key. So I suggest leaning into it, doing all speed, and blitzing your opponent with your melee damage, even though your melee damage is a little lower. And again, you don't have to go all speed, but I think going the boxer strat with Burter is the play. So having a lot of speed helps with that, and you're going to be doing a lot of damage just straight up because you're hitting faster. So that can help quite a bit. Next is the Dodoria race. I don't know why he spelled Dodoria wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's D-O instead of D-E. Maybe I'm wrong though, who knows. But anyway, Dodoria gets more resistance in both types, but they get less damage in both types. So you're only really choosing this as a gimmick race to go all resistance. I actually think there is a place in the game for this. If you're doing a raid and you need someone to tag out so you can charge, having a Dodoria with all resistance is kind of swag, honestly, because they can kind of just try to play defensively and tank while you get your key back. Next race is, we're going to skip generic and mushroom for now. Pikkon's race gains more key max than speed. So they're good at staying back and spamming moves without having to charge up. So I would say a spamming key damage build on Pikkons is better, because obviously sacrificing speed isn't good for melees. Next up, Saibamen's race. They're really basic and they only really get self-destruct. So quite literally, you can do whichever build you want with them. Yardratians. So these guys have a balanced stat build. But keep in mind with every alien, they all are getting the basic Kaioken. So being a damage dealing build is always good with aliens. And I think I recommend that with Yardrat specifically since they are balanced. Appule's race is basically the Beerus race for melee builds. So you get more melee damage but less melee resistance. So I would say probably be like a melee spammer with them. But you could also be a melee boxer with them as well. With, we did Beerus. So the only one we skipped are the generics. So the generic and mushroom races are basically the same. They don't get anything special, and they don't even have any, like, mini abilities at all. So I would just go damage with them because of Kaioken. You can be a speed blitzer with Kaioken. Just offensive juggernaut. Hopefully they add something to the mushrooms. The devs did say they might. So hopefully the mushrooms get something, because mushrooms actually look really sick in this game. I think they look great. That's it for the guide on races. That's my complete race guide on Final Stand Remastered. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope I was able to help you guys out a little bit. This game isn't one of those games where you have to min-max every single stat. I mean, if you're going for a speed build, then yeah, min-maxing every single stat, making sure you have the right amount of speed for that extra M1 is smart. But you can kind of just be very you have a lot of freedom in this game, and most of the stats, I would say, like, all but health max are good right now, and that could change in the future. So just like I said, pick a playstyle, pick what you want to do, and then pick the race that's best with that playstyle, and just enjoy, right? Or if you want to pick your race, just pick the playstyle that you want to do, and hopefully you don't want to be a boxing melee build as a Frieza. So hopefully, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You guys have a great day.